Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes through Prabhupada. We'll get started with brief prayers. Om Ajnanatim-mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. Welcome everyone for the overview of the Bhagavad chapter 3. Hope you are having wonderful time reading Bhagavad verses daily too. So we can go through some of the. Today we'll give a quick overview and also go through some of the lessons we can learn practically for our life from Bhagavad chapter 3. Because Bhagavad is meant for practical application in our daily life, um, to grow in our spiritual purpose of this life also. So this is a high level breakdown of this chapter. Of course, there's many ways you can break down this chapter. This is one way to look at this chapter, where remember in the chapter 2, at the end of chapter 2, Krishna described how one can progress, transcend, and go back to achieve a spiritual goal beyond this mundane material life also. So somebody who goes there, he's talking about spiritual goal, ultimate destination in the end of chapter 2. Now, if you remember, Arjuna in the first chapter were puzzled whether to fight or not to fight. He was confused. Now, at the end of the chapter 2, when Krishna said that knowledge is better, so you getting spiritual goal is better, then he got the initial confusion, like many people, observers get the confusion, and also many immature practitioners of spiritual life also come to that conclusion that if I need to achieve the spiritual goal, I don't need to do anything material. I don't need to do office work. I don't need to take care of family like that. They think the best is to take up renunciation. So Arjuna had the similar doubt. Do you need to work or not work? Please tell me, clarify clearly. Then Krishna goes through sections describing how Nishkama Karma Yoga is better than becoming a sannyasi or renouncing everything. He basically describes how one needs to learn the art of work, where one works with the knowledge and detachment. That means being not attached to the work, but working for the purpose of higher elevation, higher spiritual purpose like that. And then he also describes about how we need to offer the fruits of our work in the satisfaction of Krishna also. Then that is how the soul is gradually elevated, like that he describes. And then, for example, somebody who is not so much able to work with detachment and knowledge, what are they supposed to do? Then what they're supposed to do is at least follow the Vedic scriptures and follow the Vedic regulations, so that way they can worship a higher reality, higher God, and offer the results to at least portion of the results, if not everything, at least portion of the results for worship of the Supreme Lord, like that. But while doing that, slowly one can elevate to doing it for Krishna's pleasure. Yeah, initially this starts with giving part of the results, then giving more results, and then doing the activity itself for Krishna's pleasure, like that. That's where Krishna is describing. And then he says, so these second and third section are indicating how it's important to do our duties regularly while cultivating spirituality also. But beyond that, Krishna describes, let us say you're already elevated. Let us say you already elevated, you don't need to do work, you're already purified. Because earlier section is saying, if you do prescribed duties, will get purified. Now let us say you're already elevated and you're already purified. Then why do you need to do work anymore? Why do you need to do duties anymore? Krishna says in this section that even if you're purified, you need to do work or duties so that you set a right example to others who will follow. Because common people follow a leader, a great person. So if you do your duties properly, even though you're a higher level, your consciousness is higher and pure, then others will follow that example. That's what Krishna describes. About the correct setting correct example. In this section, you might remember also that how Janaka Maharaj is given as one of the example in this particular section. Then in the final section, he talks about how, let us say, I am determined, I want to do my duty properly. I want to do my spiritual practice properly. But still, I don't get to do. Basically, whatever I want to do, I don't get to do. Whatever I don't want to do, by accidentally do it. So what is causing this? He asks. Then Krishna describes the principle of lust. Lust is a strong desire. So that lust is like enemy that is staying in the senses, mind, and intelligence. Krishna describes. And then he describes that is what is causing us to not perform at our full capacity what we want to do to achieve our goals, whether material or spiritual goals. Then, so when Krishna describes to Arjuna that lust is a problem, like a good teacher, he also gives a solution. The solution he tells towards the end of this chapter are twofold. One is we need to regulate our senses by practicing principles of devotional service. Number one. Number two, he tells by strengthening our spiritual intelligence. That is the second aspect, how we can control the lust, like that he describes. Actually, this spiritual knowledge to strengthen the intelligence is the key connection for the chapter 4, which some of you might have started chapter 4. That is why chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge. So Krishna voluntarily describes transcendental knowledge so that Arjuna's intelligence can be strengthened. And with the spiritual intelligence, he can control lust like that. So that is one way to look at the overview of the chapter. There are many ways to look at the chapter, but this is one of the important way. But essentially, this chapter is very important because in two broad ways. One is many people think that uh, to practice spirituality, to practice bhakti means giving up everything. That's how people think. So we'll elaborate on that also. But this chapter is telling the key that you don't have to give up everything to practice spirituality. In fact, you do the work with the right consciousness based on the knowledge gained from Bhagavad. That's why when we understand Bhagavad knowledge, then with the right consciousness, we do the work. That way we integrate the material duties, the prescribed duties that we have to do, and the spiritual purpose also in our life. We'll discuss more about that. So that is one thing. So essentially this chapter is telling us how to spiritualize the work that we do. And you probably know the ninth verse of this chapter that talks about how what work has to be done for the satisfaction of Vishnu as a sacrifice. That is a yagna word is used. That is the important portion of this whole chapter. So in broad terms, this chapter is looking at two things. One is how to do our work in a spiritual way, how to spiritualize our work. That is one portion is discussing. Second portion is discussing is um, what is that blocking us to work towards our goal, which is lust, and how do we overcome the lust. Those are two broad sections that this chapter is talking about. Now, Well, now that we understood the overview of this chapter, let us focus on how do we apply this in our life? Why do we care? Or how does it mean? What does it mean? So that portion we can focus a little bit. So Bhagavad Gita helps us to, it broadens our vision. It broadens our thinking to think differently. So one of the ways to Bhagavad Gita, when we learn properly from right source in our discipleship succession, is it changes our thinking. What is the change of thinking being recommended? Generally, on the left hand side, you see many people commonly think spiritualists are those practice spiritual life and religion. They don't own anything, meaning they think to practice spirituality, we need to give up everything. We cannot have possessions, we cannot have money, we cannot have home, we cannot stay with family, like that they think. Or let us say, even if they don't think that way, they think that if we practice spiritual life, we will not have any ambitions anymore. We cannot grow in life anymore. That's a common misconception. People think that spiritualists don't own anything. And that is why people think, okay, now it's a good time. You have a capacity to earn, capacity to work now. Now you work, take care of earning money, take care of enjoying now. Then after that, then you can start spirituality at the old age. That's a common understanding because people are afraid if somebody takes spirituality seriously, they will give up earning money, they will give up working. That's a common misconception people might have. Not only general people, even some of the spiritual practitioners have a immature understanding like that, thinking that this working in the family, taking care of the family, doing office work, they think is opposite to spiritual life. That's a misunderstanding. So, in fact, that is a misunderstanding. Krishna is breaking away in this chapter. How is breaking away? He's telling us the art of working in such a way that we can integrate both the material part of our life, what are duties, and the spiritual purpose of our life also. So that's why that's being phrased here as spiritualists are not owned. That means they're not controlled by, I need to get this, I need to get that, like that. So remember in the beginning of the chapter, Arjuna was asking, is working better or renunciation better? So renunciation means taking sannyasi, not doing anything. Is that better or working better? So Krishna is saying actual renunciation is internal to person. It is a consciousness level. It's not about whether somebody is doing work, somebody is not doing the work. That's not more important. What is the consciousness that they carry while doing the work or while not doing the work? That is more important. So that's what Krishna is talking about in the beginning of this chapter. Essentially, the renunciation is not about giving up the work altogether, but more important than giving up the external work that we're doing is giving up the greed that we may have, selfishness that we may have, envy that we may have, because these greed, selfishness, and envy will make us want to utilize everything for me only, not utilize for others' benefit, not utilize for serving God, not utilize for our spiritual upliftment. But instead, Krishna described in this section that everything in our life, whether it be work, whether it be our possessions or our wealth or family, it can be integrally engaged as part of our spiritual growth. That means we can engage our money, we can engage all the resources we have in a constructive way. So it helps to us to grow spiritually also. So that is the main principle we can learn from here. To illustrate this, there is a story of two monks that Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj describes. So once upon a time, there were two monks. They were celibate. That means they're not married and they don't have any contact with women like that. So they're strict celibates, both of them. One of them is a younger monk. One of them is an older monk. So they were passing through an area and they were close to a river bank and they saw one beautiful lady who was was stranded. That means stranded means she's not able to move forward or come back. She wanted to cross the river. So she needed help. So she was not able to even to walk against the river current also, because she wants to pass, but she's not able to do it by her own strength. Then the younger monk, remember there's a younger monk and the older monk. Younger monk thought, oh, I'm celibate. I should not touch women. I should not see women also. Let me ignore her as if she doesn't exist. Let me go. He went away. The older monk, what did he do? He reached out to her. He understood her difficulty, that she's not able to cross because of having weaker strength, because of being weak and not being able to go across the river current. So what does he do? He carries her on his back and then crosses the river. So then she goes on her own, and these two monks are also going back home now to their monastery, wherever they're going. So then this young monk asked a question. Until now, he did not chastise him or anything, but he asked a question. How could you? You are such an example of celibacy. You celibate for so many years without any contact with women at all. But how can you carry a woman on your shoulders? Like that, he asked the question. Then the older monk, who is wise, he answers the question. He says, yes, you notice I carried that woman for a few minutes from that side of the river bank to this side of the river bank for an essential purpose, so that she can go on her way. However, you are carrying her in your mind for the last few hours, even though she's gone now, but you still have her in your mind. Like that, old monk replies. So the essential point here is the real renunciation is within. It doesn't mean we don't follow some external rules and regulations to grow in spiritual life. That is not the purpose of telling this story. The purpose of telling the story is the internal consciousness is more important than external activity. That means we need to cultivate the right consciousness, right service mode, right purpose in doing things like that. Even if you practice in spiritual life, that is the main point being shared with this story like that. So we should not think spiritual life and material life are mutually exclusive. They both can be integrately practiced together. We'll see how that can be done also towards the end of the session also. So this is one way of thinking paradigm we can change. So what is it saying spiritualists are not owned means? That means they're not attached. Even somebody may be rich, somebody may have family, somebody may have a great job, but still they are not attached to them. They utilize them in a higher purpose for growing spiritually. That is a point being shared across with this point. Let's go to the next one. So remember, toward the end of the chapter, Arjuna was asking the question about, even though I don't want to do it, sometimes I'm impelled by force to do something. Why is that so? Can you please help me? Then Krishna described how it's only due to the lust, like that he described. So naturally, we also heard about how Krishna describes two solutions to overcome lust. One is regulating the senses. Second is by higher knowledge and spiritualizing and strengthening the intelligence. These two solutions he gave. Strengthening intelligence, sense control, regulation. So now somebody who's practicing spirituality might initially have struggled with this thing, how to control my senses, how to resist the temptation. So sometimes we may not understand that these principles are so valuable that they're helpful to achieve our material goals also, not just the spiritual goals. So meaning how we should not get distracted with some temptations while we are going towards some goal. That is the point being shared. So Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj describes this acronym COST, COST, so that you can easily remember also. So one is C is conviction. That means at an intellectual level. Intellectual level, we should be very clear. What is the goal I want to reach? Why do you want to reach the goal? What is the benefit I'm going to get if I reach the goal? That clarity of purpose we should have. When we have that clarity of purpose, then we can also learn to appreciate, if I sincerely and disciplinedly practice, what is the benefit I'm going to get? So basically, the benefit we are going to get when we reach the goal, we should be able to see of a higher value compared to the restrictions we are following, or the regulation we are following, or the discipline we are following. So that means we should be motivated by higher aspiration that we want to follow. So we should really understand the benefit of the goal we are trying to achieve. When we understand that purpose, clearly, then we're able to do, put some discipline, put some sense control on it, like that. That is a conviction at an intellectual level. Of course, that itself is not enough. So what is needed? Sometimes, even though we know our goal clearly, even though we might even understand the benefits of reaching the goal also well, then eventually, when you are practicing something for a longer time, sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail. Especially in the beginning stages of any practice, or pursuing any goal for that matter. And that applies to spirituality also. So when we're going through these ups and downs of success and failure, we need to invest in a relationship. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a close mentor. So we need to invest in a relationship where we can be honest and open with them. So that is what this acronym is. O stands for openness here. That means we can open up emotionally to someone that we can trust as a close friend or a mentor. Mentor also can work like friend. So invest in such a relationship, so that way, whether in good times, bad times, we can seek advice from them, we can seek support from them, we can seek some guidance from them, and then we can also seek some feedback from them. That way, this relationship will keep us going for a long haul, even though we're striving for a goal that may take some time. So that's the openness portion. So it is important to have a close relationship, trusting relationship, where we can share and discuss and seek guidance. That's the O portion. Now S portion is safety. This is the sensual level. So intellectual level, emotional level, now sensual level. So let us say I have a good conviction that I want to achieve this goal. I want to be disciplined, strict, like that. And I have a close relationship, trusted relationship also. But then I'm putting myself in a space where I'm I'm facing provoking situations, or provoking interactions, or lifestyles that are not conducive to my principles, to my goal. They're not favorable to pursue of my goal. Then that is dangerous zone. So we should also stay away physically from such temptations by avoiding those situations as much as possible. So none of these can be absolutely practiced, but we do our best. When we are armed with these 4 areas, then we're more focused in our goal, and we're not distracted with any temptation like that. So this is the safety. That means, for example, commonly I give the example. Let us say I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to reduce eating sweets. I don't keep 10 sweet boxes in my refrigerator, or 10 sweet boxes next to me on my study table. That's not the way to maintain my goal. There's a very easy chance that I will miss that goal. So that's why we avoid that kind of temptations also, that are unfavorable to our goal and purpose in life. That is the yes portion. So we talked about the conviction in the goal. We talked about the openness in sharing with a trusted relationship we have. And we talked about ensuring we should have safety in the sensual space, so that way we're not taken away by temptations and distracted by temptations. And the last aspect is taste, or a spiritual space at a spiritual level. So it's not just enough we have a higher goal, not just enough we have a good relationship with the mentor, not just enough to avoid temptations, but that can go only so far. But we need to develop a positive, higher spiritual taste. When we develop a higher spiritual taste, then we can resist the lower taste easily. But if I don't have a higher spiritual taste, then it's very hard to resist this lower taste for longer time. So that's why we need to invest in developing higher spiritual taste. That comes with trying to consciously develop a divine connection, with something pure and uplifting that gives us a higher taste. In our bhakti practices, we get this by regularly reading scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing discourses from spiritual personalities, and by chanting the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as sincerely as possible, as attentively as possible. If we do this, then we can develop a higher taste. Then we don't have to struggle so much. In the initial devotional life, we might struggle, we might have to put more effort to resist the temptations. But as we grow in devotion, the amount of effort we need to put to resist becomes less. And as our spiritual taste even grows further, then we don't have to put much energy at all. We don't have so much lower taste at all now. So that is how it grows. So these are the few principles you can keep in mind on how to overcome temptation and how to work on lust while we are still developing transcendence, while we're still growing in bhakti. Yeah. So we talked about thinking differently so far, which was about how I was trying to move the slide, but it doesn't move. I don't know what happened. Yeah. So we talked about thinking spirituality is not about not owning everything and giving up everything. Spirituality is about integrating every part of our life with spiritual purpose and utilizing every part of our life for spiritual growth. That's one thing we talked about. And then we talked about how to practically overcome temptations we talked about. Yeah. Then let us talk about some obstacles that come during the progress that this chapter 3 is addressing for us. For example, one of the obstacles in growing in a spiritual path is I have so many duties to fulfill. This is a common thing we all experience. Oh my God, I need to get ready. I need to make plans to go to office. I need to do so much office work. And then I need to come home. I need to take care of wife, husband, family, children. I need to contribute to the community. I need to. So, like that, there's a list of things that we all have. The natural tendency is, oh my God, I'm troubled with so many things now. Let me take care of one by one nicely. Then, right now, my head is occupied with everything now. When I take care of some things, I'll get some space. Once I get space, then I'll practice spiritual life. This is a common thinking people have, which is I take care of material things now for some time, and then when I get free time, then I will do spirituality. That is a common obstacle we all face, many of us face. So how to deal with that common obstacle? That is the solution. Solution is not thinking that I will do material life now, and then after that I'll do spiritual life. Not thinking in sequential way, but instead live a life of integration where we should see every part of our life, everything that we are doing daily work is spiritualized somehow. Meaning we should see that how that whatever work we're doing, how can that contribute to my spiritual growth? How can it contribute to pleasing Krishna? How can I contribute to service to Krishna, like that? That's all. We need to see. We need to see. Requires a paradigm shift from material separate, spiritual separate, to how to see our whole life and mold it in a spiritual way. Of course, we cannot get there in day one, but we need to take one area in our life and then spiritualize that area, and then move on to second area, third area, like that. So that's the aspect we need to consider here. Now, here, in the case of Arjuna also, he had this confusion. I need to do the duty as a grandson. I cannot kill Bhishma. And then I have to do the duty of warrior. I need to fight, doing it prescribed duty. So Krishna is telling that it's not that you need to give up your duties. It's not that you need to do something drastically different. He's saying, change your consciousness, become a spiritual father. Instead of being a father of children, normal father of children, become a spiritual father. And then instead of becoming a spiritual king, becoming a normal king, become a spiritual king. Instead of becoming a regular husband, become a spiritual husband. How do you become spiritual husband? Somebody may say, or spiritual father, husband, somebody may say. That means seeing the dependent, whether it's a wife or whether it's children, as a spiritual beings, as part and parcel of Krishna. Number one. Number two, our duty, seeing our duty to take care of children as a duty towards Krishna, as service to Krishna. When we see this integration, then we don't think, oh my God, taking care of children is coming in my way of bhakti. We will not think like that. Because children are given to us by Krishna. Then we take care of their needs in a spiritual way. That means we take care of physical well-being, we take care of mental well-being, including emotional well-being, and then we also take care of their spiritual well-being. That is how I can become a spiritual father, for example. Like that, in all the relationships I have, I can bring spirituality into it nicely. That is one way we can deal with life. Now, there's a story Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj describes in this book called Gita 3. So, one time, Narada Muni is a great sage. He goes to Lord Vishnu. He asks him, it seems, uh, who's the greatest devotee? Like that, he asked. And then Lord Vishnu pointed him to a farmer, somebody who's doing farming activity and who's doing daily activities. Is not going to temple every day, is not doing devotional activities every day, but is going to do work every day. Then Narada Muni was surprised. Then Narada Muni naturally asked Lord Vishnu to please explain. Then Lord Vishnu said, I will explain, but let me give you something, some exercise first. Let me give you some small service. He told him, Narada Muni, take this bowl that is full of oil, that is completely filled with oil to the level, to the topmost. Now, go around the universe and come back without spilling one drop of the oil also. Narada Muni said, okay. Then he went all the way throughout the universe and he was very careful not to spill over the oil little bit also. Very carefully carried over all over the universe and came back to Lord Vishnu. My dear Lord Vishnu, see, I did the service like you said. I did not spill anything anywhere. Now, can you please tell me uh, why that farmer you said is the greatest devotee? Then he explained. Now, my dear Narada, when you're carrying that bowl of oil that is full throughout the universe, did you remember me? Then Narada Muni said, oh my God, I was fully focused in making sure that drop of oil also doesn't fall from the bowl. I didn't remember Krishna or Vishnu here. Then he tells, now then he tells Narada Muni, see, this farmer is taking care of all his responsibilities every day. He goes to he has a job that he does farming. He takes care of his family and he has a bunch of other responsibilities in the society. But still, among all these things, he takes time to chant my holy names. So that means what we are learning from this example, which is the essence of one of the key essence of this third chapter, is we don't have to give up all our material responsibilities to practice spiritual life. So while doing our responsibilities, while taking care of our responsibilities, we can integrate spirituality by transforming our consciousness and by keeping time allocated for spiritual practices also. That is one of the key lessons we can learn from this chapter. Yeah. Now, To practically implement this, this is the 3R formula to spiritualize our daily work, everyday work. How can we spiritualize it? There are 3Rs, easy to remember. One is make sure the work that we are doing, daily work that we are doing, is in the righteous category, not in the unrighteous category. Unrighteous category means violent, hurtful, uh, causes problems to others. We are not cheating others like that. But righteous work is the opposite of that. The work that will promote harmony with other people, that promotes compassion, that is promoting upliftment of others, like that. That kind of work. So we need to choose righteous work, not the other kind. That is the first R. Second R is we should engage our results in the service to the Lord for a higher purpose in the service of the Lord. What kind of results we can engage in service of Lord? Normally, most of us think results means only money. I'm doing job, I'm getting money. That is what I need to give to God. That's what people think. Actually, the results we get is more than money. Money is only one aspect. And that definitely we need to give a share of that to the Lord and upliftment of people towards spirituality also. Now, other aspect is we might have some knowledge that also we can offer to in service of God. And then we might have certain expertise and certain skills, and we might have certain influence in a particular field. All these things can be utilized in service of Krishna. That is what is called engaging our results of our work in service of Krishna, like that. So I know many devotees, some are very expert in handiwork. They help in the temple services. Some are very expert in planning things. So they will help in the temple services like that. Some are very expert in decorating deities in the temple. So they engage like that. Some are very expert in making garlands for deities in the temple. They engage in like that. So some are very expert in taking care of different things by doing shopping right place at the right cost in efficient manner. So they take care of that. Someone is very good in artistical skills. So they engage their artistical skills in service to Krishna. Someone may be very good in digital era now, social media. They engage that in service of Krishna for the temple, for example. Like that, each of us can engage whatever skills, whatever expertise, whatever knowledge we have in service of Krishna. And of course, whatever money we have also, we can set aside a portion of the money we get in service of Supreme Lord and in upliftment of spirituality for society. So when we do that, what is happening is not only we're pleasing Krishna, we'll naturally become free from selfishness and develop some detachment also. That is the way we can get purified also. So remember when we're talking about lust, we talked about greed, enviousness, selfishness, like that. These all uh, gradually can go away by engaging our results in service of the Supreme Lord. So we talked about 2 Rs. One is engaging in righteous work. And then when we do the righteous work, what are results come from that? In terms of gross result, money, or subtle results in terms of knowledge, expertise, skills, and influence. We can utilize them in service of Krishna. That is the second thing we talked about. The third R is remembrance. Remembrance means, in the example we discussed just now, right, with Narada Muni and the farmer. Farmer was doing all his work, but is remembering Krishna. For example, let us say there is a newly married couple. Then naturally, the wife will remember her husband while doing her things uh, throughout the day. Similarly, husband remembers the wife while doing his things throughout the day. Like that, when we develop that love towards Krishna through the practice of bhakti, then we'll also get the natural remembrance at some point of time as we grow in bhakti. But right now, we may not be there. Right now, we're not getting the natural remembrance. So we need to make some conscious effort to remember Krishna right now. How do we do that? When we're doing work, we keep some pictures of Krishna next to us, or we keep some kirtan going on, or occasionally we take breaks to read something from scripture. Like that, we consciously make some effort. Again, this doesn't mean we should neglect what the work we are doing. whatever work we need to do, like office work, cooking, cleaning, whatever we need to do, we need to do with proper care and attention. But at the same time, we should consciously make an effort to remember Krishna. So that is the other thing we can do. Ultimately, we need to cultivate the consciousness that I am working for Krishna's pleasure, ultimately, like that. Even though it's very simple that we are working to get money so that we can live in this world. That is the important principle. But why do you want to live? We want to live so that we can go back to eternal life of service towards Krishna. So that means ultimately the job is helping us to progress towards, because only if I have job, I can peacefully chant, peacefully do devotional service, peacefully do services. Then that's how I can progress in spiritual life. When I remember like that, then I can spiritualize my office work time also like that. That's the art of doing work. So the 3R formula is do righteous work and engage your results in service of Supreme Lord, and then cultivate conscious remembrance uh, of Krishna while we're doing the work. While we're cultivating the natural remembrance as we grow in bhakti. Yeah, those are few thoughts on this chapter. Hopefully you gained something. I'll be you can I'll pause here for comments or questions. So these are some references. One of the references is Gita 3 is a book by Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. And their book is Gita Subodhini. It's a book from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. Of course, you must have learned a wealth of knowledge from Sri Prabhupada Bhagavad as it is book also, while you're reading also. And we went through some of them also here. Yeah, I'll pause there. Anybody has any comments or questions now? This is the time we can share so we can discuss. If you have any insights that you learned also, you can share with me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Very practical tips you gave us to, to spiritualize our daily activities, the 3 R's. It's very practical and something, we can apply to be righteous and, the results and remembrance. It's easy and, it's easy to remember and very practical. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, most welcome, Mate. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we can end here. We can again meet next month. Yeah, unless somebody has comments or questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna. Mate.
Prabhu, I have one question related to chanting, like um, um, among the four regulative principles, right? I mean, like we can follow like everything, but chanting, right? Like, so if I have, I mean, if I take any diksha, right? I have to compulsory, I have to finish like the 16 rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in case if I got stuck up in continuous, like very, very important work.
Mm-hmm.
So in such situations, and I'm feeling like that work, like as you said, like this is Krishna's work I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle of that, I have to finish 16 rounds also. But almost like it's night 12 o'clock. It's going the work timings like night 12 o'clock. It's going beyond that. In that scenarios, like what I have to do, Prabhu.
A very nice question, Mate. Always, life situations, emergencies will always come. So we cannot say that everything will be perfect in our life. So we should plan for those. But however, what we try to do based on our current situation, our capacity, our thoughtfulness, our intelligence, our desire to do 16 rounds regularly, right? So when we have the conviction that I want to do my 16 rounds nicely, when we develop that conviction and we understand the benefits of doing that nicely, then we can make the plans accordingly to make that happen. How to do that? As the devotees grow from 1 round to 2 rounds to 4 rounds to 6 rounds to 8 rounds, 12 rounds, 14 rounds, 16 rounds, one of the things we try to practice is to get up little earlier, little earlier, like that. So usually the benefit of that little getting up earlier is that that morning time is sacred time. We can try to protect it. So that is the hours we protect it. That way, Majority of the problems go away if you're able to make that happen. That is the first point. First point is understanding the benefits of it. We try to preserve the early morning hours. When my boss doesn't talk to me, when my friends don't talk to me, that time. That is one practical way we can try. Now let us say after trying all that, suddenly something major happened, something serious accident happened, something serious situation came. I need to take care of it. That we cannot avoid anyway, because everything is not in our control. Then let us say in that situation, it's already became midnight. Even though I tried so much to allocate the time, make time for it, but still I cannot do it on that particular day. Then in that case, then we can pray to Krishna and then continue the next day. But this should not happen every week, every month, every 3 months. This can happen very, very rare circumstances like that. For example, once a year like that. Yeah. The way to get to that stage is by trying to protect the chanting time in the morning. That's what we can practice. I'm also practicing. So that's what we're trying. So that is the way we can do, Mati. For example, another situation can come. We may be admitted in a hospital for an emergency. Then what do? We cannot chant. Some devotees, if they have capacity to chant, will chant. But let us say I'm not even in a position to do that also. I'm totally knocked out. What do devotees do? Devotees keep track of that how many rounds they missed that day. And then once they come out of the hospital, when they gain some strength, they chant. Even great spiritual masters in our movement. There's a nice spiritual master called His Holiness Jayapada Swami Maharaj. He had a severe illness. He was in hospital for so many days. So he's a spiritual master for thousands of devotees. Still he kept count and finished those after the come out of the hospital. We can gain inspiration from them. So essentially high level, we try to prevent that scenario if at all possible. If we're not able to prevent that scenario, then we try to cover the next day. But more than covering next day, we try to see what can I do to avoid this happening again next time. Is there anything I can do in my hands? Like that we need to think. For example, there's an emergency, there's a deliverable I know that I need to deliver in 1 week. I don't do the work on last day. If I do in last day, I have to do it till midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. So then I block that time also. Like how I'm blocking time for chanting, I block that time for that. That's how we can deal with Mati.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mati.
And I mean, you told like not a question. I'm sharing whatever you told. Like
Sure.
service to Krishna, whatever the work we are doing, like it's a kind of service to Krishna. And you told about the one example, like two monks. One monk hesitated to help a lady, right? So the other monk treated that lady as Krishna. Like that's the reason he could, even though she is a lady, he could carry her on her back. So that I like that. And so in that case, like he thought like as a Krishna. So that karma is not a karma, that is a service, right? So when you're talking about that, I remember the Bharata Maharishi story from Bhagavatam. Like he treated the deer he treated us as if he is doing something, like as if he is a owner, like ownership. He took ownership instead of thinking like as a service to Krishna. So finally he got a trouble, and then he realized, right? That story I remembered when you're talking about that.
Very nice, Mati. Yeah. We should not go into doorship mode. I'm doing it like that. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, we should be doing it as service, like you mentioned nicely. And then third thing is, he had the enough spiritual taste that is not distracted by carrying a lady also. That means we need to focus on, we need to develop that spiritual taste. Then we're not distracted. But the young monk didn't have so much taste yet.
Yeah.
That's why he's not able to, he's still remembering that lady like that, still. Yeah. Nice, Mati.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, welcome, Mati. Any other comments or questions?
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranamalu.
Hare Krishna, Mati. Dandavat Pranamati.
Nice class, Prabhuji. Very practical tips. Thank you. I missed the first 20 minutes, I guess, because I was thinking this is in the Central Time. Then I saw it is in the Eastern Time. We are
Oh,
in Dallas, right? So
yes.
I didn't see it actually.
Oh, next
Whether
time I'll mention as Eastern time. I don't remember if I mentioned in the.
no, you mentioned Eastern. I
Okay.
didn't see.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it is 6:30, but when I saw it was 6 o'clock and I could join. I missed the first 30 minutes, Prabhuji. You will share the recording, right,
I'll share
Prabhuji?
the recording, Mate. Yeah, you can listen to it. Yeah. Thank you for joining, Mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes, Mate.
Um, in chanting side only, Prabhuji, actually.
Mm.
I'm going a lot of up and down on the chanting. I am not getting the taste. I mean, see, I like to hear the pravachans or like, attend the classes. But somehow I am not getting the taste of chanting. So what happens is that then my mind wanders so much and I get into the sleep sometimes. So I don't feel like the taste in the chanting, Prabhuji. I'm not doing 16 rounds,
Mm.
but even for few rounds, I am not getting taste. So I'm praying Krishna and that I should get the taste. Because when I sit in one place and quiet, my mind goes, I don't know, like past 20 years, 30 years, I don't know where it goes. Lot of things going on in the mind, Prabhuji. So I don't get to concentrate much. So instead of that, I don't feel like doing. So what do you advise, Prabhuji?
Sure, Mate. Definitely. This is a common obstacle all of us have that we need to work on. So there are multiple levels to work on this thing. First thing to understand is I'm not abnormal. That is the first thing to understand. Because our scriptures tell us how we progress in devotion service. And there's a book called Madhurya Kadambani, where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes how there are 9 stages of bhakti: Shraddha, faith; Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees; then Bhajana Kriya, that means doing the activities of devotion service; then Anardha Nivriti, that means removal of impurities, cleaning of impurities. Most of us are in that stage, Bhajana Kriya, Anardha Nivriti stage, removal of impurity stage. And then finally comes Nishtha, that means fixed in the devotion practices, fixed in my devotion to Krishna. And after that comes Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, like that, higher stage. So, in the till we go to the fixed stage or Nishtha stage, it's normal for practicing devotees like me to go through ups and downs. That is one thing that gave me little solace when I'm going through this, when I'm going through these things myself. Number one, because if you don't understand this, what happens is I will think that bhakti works for him, for them, bhakti works for her, bhakti works for him, bhakti works for her, but it doesn't work for me. That is the conclusion we come to. That means bhakti may be great, but I am not qualified for it. Like that, we'll think. But when we understand this is a normal phases everybody goes through, then we can still put the conviction and practice. Number one. Number two, when when I'm going through this situation where I'm getting sleep and I'm getting lots of thoughts, then I compare myself from the past to now. For example, 5 years ago or 2 years ago, I was not chanting at all. No holy name. I did not know what is chanting. I did not know what is holy name. But now at least I know about holy name. I'm making my attempt to chant, even though I'm sleeping, even though I'm thinking about other things. So this is better than whatever I'm doing before. That means no matter what, I should chant. That is the second principle. That means no matter what is happening, however is happening, I need to chant. That keep going. That is the second principle to learn. Then the third principle is that uh, we need to not stay there. For example, I'm getting thoughts all my rounds when I'm chanting. 16 rounds, I'm getting thoughts now. I should not continue like that. Okay, this is better than not chanting before now. I'll keep on going like that. That is what is called holding on to material attachments, not doing anything about it. That is one of the 10th offense of holy name, chanting holy name. Instead, I need to see what can I do. So what we hear from saintly personalities is two things. One is try to stay in a place where there are less distractions. That means less chances of thoughts going here and there. Number one. That means try to some devotees even close their eyes to not get distracted by anything else, and close their ears. Some of them, if your situation allows, of course, with other responsibilities. That is the other thing we can try to avoid distractions that we can as much as we can. Number one. Number two, when we are getting different thoughts, let us say I'm getting one thought about office. I went with that thought for 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, when I realize that thought has come, then I pause. And I come back. Oh, I'm thinking about office. I'm supposed to listen to the holy name. Then I come back after 5 minutes. Instead of letting it go, okay, it's coming, it's okay, let me think, what is next? Oh, that's a good idea. How about this? That's a very good idea. Instead of continuing like that, we try to bring our mind back. That's the attempt we're making. And Krishna is pleased with that attempt, even if you're not successful. That's the next thing. So as we do like this, bringing the mind back, Krishna describes Abhyasa Yoga Yuktana. You'll see that in coming chapters. So as we bring that mind back like this, as we practice this, slowly, instead of remember, I recognize that my mind is gone somewhere after 5 minutes. Slowly, I'll recognize my mind has gone after 4 minutes itself. Slowly after 3.5 minutes. Slowly after 2.5 minutes. Slowly after 1 minute. Still my mind is going. But at least after 1 minute, I recognize, I bring it back. Like that, our consciousness and attention improves gradually, not abruptly. That means now I sit and chanting, tomorrow morning, I will get 0 thoughts. Not like that. From 100,000 thoughts, it will go to 99,000 thoughts, 95,000 thoughts, 90,000 thoughts. Like that, gradually reduces. So like you are doing nicely, praying, that is the important thing we should do. We can pray that please help me to chant attentively. I'm trying to focus, but I'm not able to do. But please accept this chanting somehow. Like that, we can pray. And then that way, Krishna will accept our chanting. Yeah. So that's the other principle we can follow, Mati. And then other principles that are described by Acharyas is chanting near devotees who, if possible, whenever possible, uh, like-minded devotees who have more taste for the holy name also helps. Chanting near Tulsi Devi helps, and performing some service to the holy name helps to get the mercy of Gauranga. And then sitting straight helps. Like that, there are a few tips we can practice also. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely I will follow. Sometimes, like, I can sit in front of the God in the morning, I can do some rounds, but sometimes I have to go out and, either in the car or walking. While walking, I'm doing the chanting, or while I'm waiting for the kids' classes, I'm doing the chanting. I know sometimes it is noisy, but still, I'm
Yeah.
just covering some rounds.
Sure.
I mean, I really wanted to take the time, but yeah, maybe it comes slowly.
Yeah, based on your situation, you do your best, Mate. Yeah. But then
Yeah.
you need to see how to improve the best more. Meaning, how can you do more rounds in the morning? How can you do more rounds in the quiet place like that? Yeah.
Yeah, the big challenge is in practical life, Prabhuji. As soon as you get up, like
Correct.
you want to do some yoga class or something, and then morning kids have to go, by 6:30 or 7 o'clock. They have to go out, so we have to prepare the lunch boxes and all, back to back work. Uh, yeah, it's like when I think practically.
Difficult.
Maybe I don't get up like 4:30 or 4 o'clock.
That's okay. Yeah.
I get up 6 o'clock or 5:30. But that is the challenge, that it is not sufficient time to do all that before the office. So
Got it.
yeah,
Got it, Mate.
I'll try, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure, Mate. I
Yeah,
wanted to
thank you.
ask, there's a maybe next session. Let me ask Gopijan Priyamati, can we use the other line in the meantime? You can use the other line.
Sure, Prabhuji, I can
Yeah.
use it. Right?
Sure.
From
Yeah,
that.
this is open. I saw it's open, Mate. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Mate. Hare Krishna. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Another question, Prabhu, I have.
Yes,
Say,
Bhavita.
say my guru told, I mean, just example I'm telling, like, my guru told, like, you have to do 16 rounds.
Yes.
So I have some emergency task, like I have to do. Okay, I'm just depending on my guru. Okay, my guru told I have to do, and I'm doing that, irrespective whatever happens, let it happen. I'm just doing that. I have to finish to please my guru. I have to finish my 16 rounds. So what will happen, Prabhu, in that case?
It depends upon depending upon what is the emergency task, like that. Depending upon what is that. For example, your question is some emergency task come, you'll ignore and you'll chant instead. Is that right?
Yeah.
That it depends upon emergency, right? For example, my son became ill. So
Mm.
Guru will not be pleased when I'm chanting my rounds. When my son is ill, I need to take him to hospital. Instead of taking him to hospital, I sit at home,
Mm.
chant. Guru is not pleased. Krishna is not pleased.
Okay.
So what is pleasing to Krishna? We need to think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like that, depending upon the emergency. And
Mm.
like we said, try to reduce the emergencies, avoid the emergencies as much as we can. Of course, we cannot avoid most of the time. If we
Mm.
cannot avoid, then what can we do? But we try our best and try to learn something we can do for better next time. Ade.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm thinking, like, and it also depends on your bhakti on Krishna. Like, if you have like that, but if you don't have that much bhakti, and you have to do practically what is happening.
Yeah, it's
Right?
important. Both of them you need to take care of because we cannot just leave our responsibilities also. Both are
Mm.
important. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
As you said, like slowly we have to make sure our life, like,
Ah,
gradually, okay, this level suitable for me. Okay, we will. So simultaneously we have to plan ourselves. Okay, if I need to do like another two more, 10 more round, 4 rounds extra, then how to change my life situations? I have to adjust, and again I have to increase, and again I
exactly.
have to change slowly. Okay, okay, bro.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
can to anticipate what could happen and do it proactively, so that way
Yeah.
they're not becoming emergency urgent situations like that.
Okay, bro.
Like that. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you,
you, bro.
Mate. Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Okay, Mate. Any other comments or questions?
Prabhuji, what about prasadam, Prabhuji? Means everyone tell only eat Krishna prasadam, but some parties will happen. They'll cook with onion and garlic. So in that situations, how can we overcome?
Yeah, depending upon our level of faith and our level in bhakti currently, then we practice at that level. For example, currently we don't have so much faith in prasadam, and we have equal faith in friends. So then we do that whatever we need to eat. For example, as you grow in bhakti, as we increase your chanting, as you improve in chanting, then you will get the faith. I want to follow this. I want to eat prasadam. So when I go to parties, I will tell them I'm following this. That means I have the courage to tell that time that I'm following something. So I don't want to eat any non-prasadam. So you can give me, you have some fruit, you can give me. I will eat like that. That's one option one. Option two, I cook one item in the home and I take it, offered it to Krishna and take it to the place. And then I eat some of that item instead. Like that, as we have the intelligence and as we have the faith, then we follow accordingly. And slowly, we can directly tell them, I don't need to come to parties. What is the benefit I'm getting to go to parties? Like that, we need to think through different things. Of course, life situation is complex. So you can consult one mentor who knows your life situation also. So they can guide you gradually. So not like stop everything one shot. Yeah. Makes sense, Mati?
Prabhuji, means if we are faith also, but partner uh, have some interest in social gatherings and friends also will think blah blah blah, and we are only at starting. How can convey? And some means some places they won't allow outside food.
Yeah, then we adjust accordingly. Then what we do is, first of all, we work with our partner. Communication is the key thing in relationships. So we communicate what is important for us, and we negotiate what we are willing to do, what is a absolute no, and what is a okay. That we decide in ourselves first before we talk to anybody. What is the boundary that we have? That is absolute for me. and what is okay for me. That flexibility we decide internally first. Then when we talk to our partner, we make arrangement accordingly. For example, if you're going to a restaurant, for example, at this level, then you choose a restaurant that has a sattvic food, for example, at this level. Some devotees even don't go to a restaurant, but when the partner is not there at that level, so we cooperate with the partner together as a family, and then we go to a restaurant. They might even eat non-veg, but we eat vegetarian, for example. Like that, we need to make some choices to work in relationships. Sometimes relationship is more important, so we work together. That way, when we see that we are strong in our principles, number one, at our boundaries, and then we're willing to compromise some things that are not so strong for our boundary, for their sake, they'll feel love for us, from us, and then they will also change slowly. And then by giving them prasadam regularly, by showing that how we are becoming a better person by practicing spirituality, they will cooperate with us slowly. That's how we can change, Mate. Nothing abrupt. Does that help?
Means only depend on our boundaries, how much we are interested.
Yeah, how much you're interested, you create your boundary. For example, eating non-veg is no for me, but I'm okay to eat onion garlic. That is your boundary, for example, currently.
But in
Then,
Krishna conscious, this is no onion, no garlic.
yeah, your husband is important or Krishna consciousness is important? Both are
Both.
important, right? That's why you're negotiating to come to some level. Then slowly, then when your husband is also at a level to accept that you are okay, it's okay you eat without onion garlic, then that time you also come to that level, that standard of no onion garlic, like that. Make sense?
So depend on my choice or depend on husband's choice. So I have to consider husband's choice also.
Both of them. Relationship means give and take, love and trust, right? So you need to develop relationship, keep relationship nice, so that he can respect your choices. When other person feels that you care about him and you're willing to take care of him, then they also want to listen about us. First, when we understand others, when we care for others, then only they care about me. Otherwise, they don't care about us.
Prabhuji, otherwise we can cook for them with onion and garlic, and we can avoid onion garlic.
That's
So
also
there is
good.
no problem
Yeah.
for them and no problem for us.
Yeah. Use your
But
intelligence that Krishna has given to find the solution, basically.
they'll get little frustration, but it's okay.
Yeah. See what works for you. It's all communication, basically. Yeah. Communication is important. What you're doing is less important. Communication and why you're doing is important. Your relationship is more important. So to keep the relationship, not like I want this, you want this, I don't care. Not like that. So I really want this to do practice like this, but I also know it's important for you. So I want to cook for you so that you are not sacrificing for me. I want to take care of you, like that. Then they also feel, wow, even though she doesn't want to do it, she was doing just for me. So nice of her. Like that, they need to understand. They will understand. Makes sense, Mati?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Welcome, Mati. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll meet again next month for chapter 4 summary. Sri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much.